Hey guys, it's time for 2-6. We're going to start the second part of Chapter 2 here. 2-6 talks about rates, ratios, and proportions. And I'm going to be showing you a lot of different ways to use rates, ratios, and proportions today. So I'm just going to warn you, I'm going to be talking a little fast to try to get this in under 15 minutes. But we will go over some more examples in class to kind of help you out a little more. So you got 5 vocab words today. First one's ratio, which just compares two quantities by division. So we'll see these a lot, but like the ratio of heights between children and adults is 4:1 or something like that. Proportion is when you have two ratios that are set equal to each other. Rates is just something like miles per hour. So it's two quantities with different units. So like 60 miles per 1 hour. Okay. Unit rates are when the second quantity is just 1 unit. So like I just said, 60 miles per 1 hour would be a unit rate. If I said 120 miles in 2 hours, that wouldn't be a unit rate. And then we'll also be using conversion factors to switch from one unit or one rate to another one. So like if we wanted to go from miles per hour to feet per minute, we would use something called a conversion factor. So the first thing you need to know before we get started with proportions is something called the cross products property. And you've seen this before. This says that when we have a proportion, cross products are always equal. So you see there we got like 2/3 equals 4/6. Well, if I multiply cross, 2 times 6 is 12, and then 3 times 4 is also 12. So those two are always going to be equal. And we're going to use this property a lot throughout this second half of Chapter 2. So get used to it. So the first type of problem you'll see today it'll look kind of like a story problem, but they're really not too bad. So it'll give you one ratio. So the ratio of the number of bones in a human's ears to the number of bones in the skull is 3:11. So let's write that ratio down. There are 22 bones in the skull. How many bones are in the ears? Well, remember, this is ears, that's an E, to skull. So in my second ratio, I don't know the ears part, so I'm going to call that X, but I know there's 22 bones in the skull. Now this one's kind of an easy one. I know that you probably already know the answer right now, but they won't all be this easy. So what we do is we cross multiply here. So 3 times 22 is 66, and we know that's going to equal, because of our cross products property, 11x. So we have a little equation here. That's what the first half of chapter 2 is about, solving equations. So I got to do now is solve for x, and I figure out that x is 6. So there's 6 bones in the ear. 6 bones in the ear. Okay? So that would be how I'd figure out a missing part of a ratio using proportions. They'll also want you to find unit rates. So in this problem, we have Ralph from Germany, and he flips pancakes 416 times in 120 seconds to set a world record. Find the unit rate. So in this, we have 416 pancakes in 120 seconds. Now we want to know, label this here. We want to know how many pancakes would that be in 1 second. Okay, so we want to know x, essentially. Now here, you could cross multiply, but the shorter way to do it is just do 416 divided by 120, because this over here is just 1, right? So x over 1 is the same as x. So when you find a unit rate, essentially you're just going to divide whatever you're doing by the thing that you want to turn into the unit rate. So 416 divided by 120 is 3.46 repeating. It wants us to round to the nearest hundredth, so that'd be 3.47. So this guy Ralph can flip 3.47 pancakes in 1 second. That's pretty fast. So that would be his unit rate for his world record. Okay, then this is my favorite type of problem here, converting rates. Here's a cheetah, can run at 60 miles per hour in short bursts. What is this speed in feet per minute? So when we do these, we're going to use what we called conversion factors. Remember, these were in your vocab words. So I have 60 miles in 1 hour. Now I want to change that to feet per minute. So let's change miles to feet first. So I got to know how many miles or how many feet are in a mile. Hopefully you know that's 5,280. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a conversion factor. Now I want miles to cancel out. So I'm going to put that on the bottom. Okay, you see here that the miles are going to cancel out. And then I'm going to put 5,280 feet on the top. Now since these two things are equal, it's essentially like multiplying by 1. So I'm not changing anything here. Okay? So that would be my first conversion factor. Now the other thing I have to do is cancel out hours, change it to minutes. Well, I know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So again, I'm going to set up another conversion factor, and I'm timesing these, by the way. So then I want to cancel out hours. Hours is on the bottom, so I'm going to put it on the top of my conversion factor. So you can see here my hours are going to cancel out, and I'm going to be left with feet per minute, which is what I want. So once I have all my conversion factors set up, I'm just going to multiply across here. So I can do a little reducing if you want. I don't want to confuse you, so I'm not going to do that here. So on the top I have 60 times 5,280, which would be a big number here, 316,800, and that's feet over 60 minutes. And then all I have to do is go ahead and divide that, which again, this one's a little bit of an easy one. So he's going a mile a minute, 5,280 feet per minute. So now I've converted 60 miles per hour to feet per minute. Alright, so that's how I use conversion factors. I know that was kind of fast, so we'll spend some time in class going over this again, just to make sure you get it. Okay, then the problems actually get a little bit easier as we move on here. They'll just give you a proportion and say solve. And what we're going to do to do this is use, once again, our cross products property. Okay, so I'm going to multiply diagonally. 3m equals 9 times 5, which is 45. So then I divide by 3. And 45 divided by 3 is 15. So now I've solved that proportion. Okay, not too bad. They do get a little bit harder. Okay, something like this. Now again, I'm going to use my cross products property, but notice here that I have, instead of just a variable, I have y minus 3. I'm going to put parentheses around this just to remind you that it stays together. So when I multiply here, I have 2 times y minus 3, and then that's going to equal 42. Now before I do anything, I need to distribute, just like we learned earlier in chapter 2. So 2 times y is 2y, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, and then I'm going to add 6, add 6, so I get 2y equals 48. Divide by 2, divide by 2, y equals 24. Okay, so they can get a little bit more involved. Just remember your distributive property like we worked on early in chapter 2. And then the last thing you'll see today has to do with scale drawings and scale models. Now if any of you ever want to become an architect or a builder or anything like that, you'll need to be able to use scales. Okay, you've probably learned about using scales maybe on maps in geography already. So a contractor has a blueprint with a scale of 1 inch to 3 feet. So I'm going to write that down. Now the wall on the blueprint is 6.5 inches. So I'm going to put inches on top just like it is in my original scale. How long is the actual wall? So we want to know how many feet the actual wall is. So here is, we'd set up a proportion again. And then again I would cross multiply, so I have 1x equals 6.5 times 3. I believe that's going to be 19.5. So the actual wall in the building, or the house that they're going to build, has to be 19.5 feet long. Okay, even though it's 6.5 inches long on the blueprint. Okay, so really, if you look at this chapter, it's really a bunch of different applications of proportions and how to use them. And that's what most of the second part of chapter 2 is real life applications of various things. Okay, so again, please mark anything that you didn't really understand, and make sure that you ask about it next time I see you, so that we can kind of clear up some stuff. I know I went a little fast through some of this. Okay, I think though that you've seen some of it before. Anyway, we will see you soon.